If you've ever attended a murder mystery party, you know that there's the dramatic moment at the beginning when the fake murder happens. But then the bulk of the time is actually spent fact-finding and analyzing how nefarious your friends are. In many ways, rhetorical analysis is kind of the same thing. It can seem like a big undertaking, but it mostly comes down to using fact-finding skills and asking questions. In fact, being fluent in rhetorical analysis will totally make you the queen of the entire whodunit genre. The skills involved are relevant to practically every area of our lives, since we're always working to find meaning in text and communication. Hi, I'm Dr. Emily Zarka, and this is Study Hall Rhetoric and Composition. In another episode, we discussed how writing skills are transferable, extending the ways that each lesson in a writing class can positively impact our lives. We've also done other episodes on rhetorical analysis where we talk through the steps we take when we want to analyze the rhetoric. Remember that rhetoric is basically the study and practice of communication or persuasion, so we're analyzing how the writer communicates. Now let's put those two ideas together and explore how rhetorical analysis skills can be used elsewhere to dissect all the different types of communication all around us. First, a brief recap. We use rhetorical analysis to conduct a thorough fact-finding mission to understand the context, audience, purpose, and strategies involved in some kind of communication. We then present an argument, usually one that says what we think the text is successful or unsuccessful at accomplishing. And we use all the details we gathered while analyzing to make our argument in a formal rhetorical analysis, which is often in an essay format, but could also be in a multimedia presentation, slide deck, or other format. Now, some jobs more obviously involve some serious rhetorical analysis. For instance, lawyers and judges spend a lot of time looking at the small details of text to decide how laws should be applied to particular cases. But if we aren't in a line of work that requires in-depth analysis of text as part of our job description, we might be wondering how rhetorical analysis skills transfer. Remember, rhetorical analysis is basically looking really closely at an instance of communication or persuasion and deciding how effective it is. And that's useful whether we're thinking about coaching a sports team or creating a great employee handbook, or solving a crime and avenging our friend's murder. We're going to walk through each of the 4 core steps of rhetorical analysis one by one, because while all of these skills are useful as a group, they can also show up individually. And we may find ourselves using one or more of them and remember that we can use the rest of our rhetorical analysis skills to more thoroughly understand and evaluate a situation. We possess these skills to some extent just as thinking, communicating beings. But by using high road transfer or deliberately remembering things we've learned in new contexts, we can pull rhetorical analysis in to help us as communicators and as listeners. First, reading closely doesn't mean we hunch over a book and squint. Instead, it tends to mean bringing focused attention to everything we read, often with a critical lens. Rhetorical thinkers often use the term lens to talk about ways they look at a text. And a critical lens means looking at a text with a doubtful eye, questioning the text to make sure that it holds up. For example, let's say we're at a trade show for our job as a Windows salesperson, and we're trying to decide whether a new brand of Windows is better than our current supplier. We aren't going to immediately place an order with a company that has a Best Windows in the World banner over their exhibitor's booth. Reading this statement closely with a critical lens gets us to ask some important questions, like what makes these windows so good? And what materials do they use? It's entirely possible that the brand rep will respond to these questions with impressive explanations about the quality of their glass. These might indeed be the best windows in the world. But using a critical lens allowed us to test someone else's claim. Next, being able to evaluate context and notice what is happening around a piece of communication is a transferable skill that we can use in almost any workplace, personal life setting, or school class. Context can literally determine the success or failure of a given request. Say we've been waiting to propose a new initiative to our boss, one that we're really excited about and will take a good part of our time at work. We could just barrel into her office and ask her about this new project right now. But there are only a few ways this is going to go. We might be told yes, we might be told no, or we might be brushed off with a maybe later. And optimizing the context of our request might move us closer to yes. For instance, if we've just made our boss look good by delivering a project ahead of deadline and under budget, we have great context for proposing our new initiative. By completing a project early and cost effectively, we've shown our boss that we can be trusted to do good work on a new initiative. On the other hand, if we've just made a pretty big error on a project and are behind on other projects, well, few ideas are so good that our boss will ignore that context. She's probably saying no. So, deliberately remembering lessons we've learned about analyzing context may help us write more carefully and with more factors in mind. Acknowledging context makes us better at analyzing our own writing situations, showing us potential paths forward in our personal or workplace writing and communicating. It's not just workplace communication where rhetorical analysis skills transfer, though. In civic conversations, for instance, we can really use the next core part of the rhetorical analysis process, evaluating strategy and purpose, to make sense of the politics in our communities. It's easy when we're frustrated to feel like there are sinister motives behind many politicians' actions. After all, political leaders abusing their power is a stereotype for a reason. But looking carefully at the text of political speeches can help us to parse out what strategies a politician is using to achieve their purposes. For example, say you analyze a gubernatorial candidate's campaign speech and find that it's full of references to their experiences volunteering for nonprofits. Emphasizing community service may be this candidate's strategy to encourage people to think about how good citizenship can improve society. That can be a strong ethos appeal, if you remember our episode on rhetorical appeals. Or we might initially be bored by a dry public presentation from a monotonous candidate. Looking at the transcript of the presentation again with an eye for strategy and purpose might help us pull out the policies this candidate will enact. Even if they're a boring speaker, they might be the right fit for what our state or country needs. Different strategic rhetorical appeals resonate with different people, but opting for a deeper analysis rather than casual listening gives us the opportunity to make more sense of what a politician truly stands for. Once we've done our analysis, we may come to a variety of conclusions. While most politicians have a surface-level goal to get elected and stay that way, they may have a few other goals too, like raising awareness about climate change or reducing the tax burden on their citizens. For something as important as how our country or city or town is governed, it's helpful to have tools for evaluating the communication strategies of politicians. Finally, there's one more transferable skill in the world of rhetorical analysis: evaluating audience. In general, the audience is whoever will be reading, viewing, or responding to something, like the different audiences involved in staging a musical. Ruckus and Racket Theater Company has a lot of different people involved in getting their comedic musicals out into the world. Like Clarence, the director has to think about the audience. That is, the actual audience of people who will be sitting in the theater's seats. Clarence is going to choose which musical the company puts on next based on his knowledge of the musicals that audiences have loved in the past. But Clarence's assistant director, Bert, thinks about a different kind of audience: the potential actors and actresses who could audition. He's holding open auditions, but a fairly core group tries out each time, so he's selecting which play will appeal to talented actors and actresses. He knows that drawing their interest and enthusiasm is a big part of the success of the show. And the owner of the theater, Lulu, is also evaluating the audience, especially when they market the new show. They want to capture the attention of people who already have interest in musicals or the performing arts. So Lulu devotes the theater's advertising dollars to getting ads into playbills of other local shows, with the hope that people waiting for those shows to start will notice that a new musical is coming soon. None of these team members are writing formal rhetorical analysis papers to analyze these audiences, but they draw on transferable rhetorical analysis skills about audience to compare ideas and make their new musical a success. So by considering context, audience, strategies, and purpose, we can take a close look at what a text is doing. We might naturally bring this into situations that don't involve analyzing a text, but we can also do that deliberately. As we discussed in an earlier episode, when we deliberately apply skills we've learned to a different domain, that's high road transfer, and it requires that we consciously remember connections and lessons. By learning and practicing rhetorical analysis skills in a writing class, we're more likely to be able to draw upon them in the future, in our careers and personal lives. And that doesn't just make us better at understanding how other people communicate. High road transfer of rhetorical analysis skills can also make us better at communicating too. We'll be analyzing ourselves and our efforts to write, refining them to be better and better. Basically, all communication is a constant dialogue. Rhetorical analysis helps us become more thoughtful writers ourselves and helps us analyze the many messages we encounter every day. We don't have to spend as much time figuring out mysteries like the crime shows do if we're all doing our best to communicate carefully from the start. Though I still don't know who killed Professor Plum in the library with the candlestick. See you next time. Thanks for watching Study Hall Rhetoric and Composition, which is part of the Study Hall Project, a partnership between ASU and Crash Course. If you liked this video and want to keep learning with us, be sure to subscribe. You can learn more about Study Hall and the videos produced by Crash Course and ASU in the links in the description. See you next time.